Let's flip it though. I really am unironically interested in this topic. It is apparently Jon Stewart's show was canceled by Apple. I love Jon Stewart. I think for people who know me as edgy as I am, like Jon Stewart, I like him a lot. He's what inspired me to get into politics. He inspired me to be more left leaning. I think he's incredibly intelligent. I think that he's funny. He has a different sense of humor that probably appeals more to older people like myself. He's genuine. I would genuinely recommend that you go look up Jon Stewart 9/11. I know that sounds silly, but listening to him advocate for this is the I'll put it in the description. This is probably one of the most powerful moving videos you'll ever watch as he advocates for New York to, actually continue to fund healthcare for first responders. He's such a genuine guy. I love the guy. I will always glaze him. There was like one instance where I disagreed with something that he did, and I made a video about it. It was a year ago. But this man he's so genuine. He's so thoughtful. He's intelligent. He's funny. I like him a lot. And apparently they canceled his Apple show. And I don't know why. Part of me speculates that there was once where he did this conversation where he was calling people out, and somebody mentioned that like Apple was just as bad as all the other corporations, and Jon was like, yeah, they are, even though I'm platformed by them. I wonder if it has something to do with that. So let's see what we got here.
From The Verge is a big deal, man. So this story right here from The Verge is a big deal, man. Jon Stewart's Apple TV Plus show ends reportedly over coverage of AI and China.
Interesting. Who reported that?
According to reports, the problem with Jon Stewart has been effectively canceled over editorial disagreements with Apple. So, Jon Stewart's show...
the first thing that I hear is that Jon Stewart wants full control over his own show, and that if he's not going to get it, he would rather cancel his contract if it has some kind of an editorial disagreement. That's what I'm hearing, which I can definitely appreciate.
Has been really good to this point. I mean, he was wonderful on The Daily Show, as everybody knows.
I love Jon Stewart.
That show is legendary and iconic.
It was incredible. And once he left, I never engaged with like Trevor Noah or the other guy that lies about being oppressed, Hassan Minaj or whatever. Something about people named Hassan. I don't know. Piker? That's not a very nice guy either. So, yeah, my wife in the chat, we were supposed to go to his show last year and we never went. That is unfortunate. I'm just too nervous to meet Jon. This is so nervous.
I think Trevor Noah taking it over from him, that didn't work out so well in the long run.
No, I don't think that anybody was ever going to replace Jon Stewart. In Trevor Noah's defense, like, who was going to replace Jon Stewart? For what it was, I'm sure Trevor Noah did pretty well. But like, who was going to be able to replace Jon Stewart? Like, there's just nobody. He has such an incredible career. He's so respected by like everybody.
Apple TV.
Yeah, I only like the white host. Thank you.
He was doing this show, The Problem with Jon Stewart. A lot of the stuff he did was phenomenal. He would like debate politicians or the Treasury Secretary or whoever, and Larry Summers, and he would basically make them look as ridiculous as they are. But now...
it's interesting because I would watch... I didn't subscribe to Apple TV to watch it, but I would watch the YouTube channel. And there was one moment... Shane Gillis would be an amazing Daily Show host. It's funny that you mentioned that. I thought that as I was saying, I'm like, he might be. Because there's a level of humor, I think, that needs to be present in it. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I watched a moment where he was talking to somebody on his show, and it was so interesting what he had said. It was a very interesting conversation. He said, sometimes basically kind of exposing or categorizing or showing people that somebody is just kind of a fool can be incredibly effective, more so than actually debunking them. And it's a very interesting point because, of course, we know that, like, fundamentally we shouldn't focus on trying to break somebody down and just make them look like a fool as an epic win, right? But at the same time, if you could show somebody to expose them to be foolish, and especially in a satirical way, that can hurt the credibility of them in their argument. And I think that was in context of talking about Vladimir Putin. you know, because he has all these like insane, silly propaganda machines that make it seem like he can beat. Like if you look at it, he has people edit him on like bears and stuff to make him seem really cool. I think at one point he made it seem like he beat the entire Russian hockey team. I mean, the propaganda is insane. He tries to make himself seem like a superhero. It's really bizarre. And when you expose that and you see how silly it is, and you see how silly it is for conservatives to glaze Russia, which they do sometimes, especially in the context of the war, Ukraine war. And I'm not saying all conservatives do, but some like Republican Party figures will. It's just interesting.
Apparently, working for a massive mega
bro. Stop telling me I'm gonna glaze. I'm glazing Jon Stewart hard as fuck. You can keep saying it to yourself. We already know that I'm gonna do it.
Corporation like Apple, with all these conflicts of interest and all this concern about profit, it looks like it backfired because he wanted to go into some no-go zones. So they say snagging Jon Stewart to host a new political talk show after his departure from The Daily Show was one of Apple TV Plus's biggest achievements when the problem with Jon Stewart was first announced back in 2020. By the way, he got great numbers on his show. A lot of these shows and these like newer outlets don't do well, but his show actually did great. But
yeah, I'm sure it got plenty of people to like subscribe to Apple TV.
Of production kicking off on the show's third season, Stewart and Apple have reportedly parted ways over creative differences, and the problem is coming to an end. The New York Times reports that along with concerns about some of the guests booked to be on the problem with Jon Stewart, Stewart's intended discussion of artificial intelligence and China were a major concern for Apple.
Interesting. It sounds like him criticizing. It was going to probably be some form of a criticism of China, not Chinese people, Chinese government. Be very clear. There's nothing wrong with Chinese people at all, but the Chinese government can be oppressive. There's also our American government can be oppressive as well. There's always a conversation to have about shitty government. I don't know specifically what it was going to be in context of, but I will say that the AI conversation is so necessary. It is probably the most, when we sit here and we will talk about the threats to the world, different wars, people will claim trans people are a threat, ridiculous. Anything like that, we always bypass the most immediate and the most severe threat of anything else that ever could exist, and that is artificial intelligence. In almost every single facet. Realistically speaking, AI is incredible. Different AIs and different technologies will lead to us having to work less. They lead to faster productivity, and they lead to basically a Wall-E type society. But if you thought that was bad, where we're headed is even worse. We're not headed towards right now the society where everybody is fat and sits in a chair that moves them around while robots clean the earth that we've destroyed. We're headed to an incredibly dystopian, destructive place where the top 1%, the top tenth of 1% own everything while we lose our jobs. As cool as it is that technology makes things cheaper, on the other hand, not so cool that technology will remove jobs. That's how it's cheaper. And as more and more technology is implemented to replace jobs, fewer and fewer jobs exist. It's a fact. People will say, no, it creates jobs. It creates some, but those self-checkout machines that are in every single Walmart, that are in every single supermarket, that are being implemented in every single McDonald's and are continuously spreading, those remove those low-skilled labor minimum wage jobs. So it might remove 100 jobs, but it might replace them with one technician that has to go around and fix one every once in a while. On the other hand, when it comes to AI technology, as far as artificial intelligence, that is displacing actors. You're hearing voices. I heard Frank Sinatra singing like some fucking crazy song from last year. It's scary. It's replacing people's voices. It's getting you can deep fake things. It's a lot. And it's very quick, and it's very scary, and it's something that we need to address. It is. It's fucking crazy.
Though new episodes of the show were scheduled to begin shooting in just a few weeks, staffers learned today that the production had been halted. According to The Hollywood Reporter, ahead of its decision to end the problem, Apple approached Stewart directly and expressed its need for the host and his team to be aligned with the company's views on topics discussed. Rather than falling in line when Apple threatened to cancel the show, Stewart reportedly decided to walk.
Yeah, of course. That's why I love Jon Stewart. So
we've reached out to Apple for comment about news of the cancellation, but did not hear back in time for publication.
Is Frank Sinatra dead? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Frank Sinatra's dead, brother. I guess I'll look it up. Is Frank Sinatra dead? Yeah, he died when I was 8. It's out when I was 8 years old. So I'm 33. So you do that math, you know. Yeah, Papa Gut. This is the problem. AI is the scariest thing in the entire world, and unironically, it's coming and it's doing these crazy things. It can replace your voice. It can replace your body. You can superimpose somebody's face onto somebody else's body, and as these things happen, it's scary. And so if you hear, you know, some kind of an audio come out where I said some kind of bad word, like a slur, that was not me. That was not me from 10 years ago. That was AI technology. Somebody created AI technology to make it seem like I said that. I would never say it. I would never say every one of those slurs 10 years ago. I never would say that. It's not happening. Okay? So don't come after me, bro. Don't come after me. It's not my fault.
The Times report doesn't detail what about the show's planned coverage of artificial intelligence and China prompted Apple's executive leadership to butt heads with Stewart, but considering how pointed criticality is a big part of what ultimately made the problem with Jon Stewart a hit for Apple TV Plus, and how maintaining a cordial relationship with China is crucial to Apple's future plans for growth, it doesn't come as a shock to see the show hit the chopping block this
How unfortunate, man. How unfortunate, like, that Apple TV is such a fucking cuck for China. You know, it's so interesting because we criticize the United States.
Super chatted $5. AI creates jobs for higher skilled roles and typically replaces entry-level roles. That's been the direction, and it's advancing rapidly.
1,000%, brother. That's why you should get into a technology job. I was gonna say, it's unfortunate because you'll have people who will glaze China, like some leftist content creators, and talk about how they've had a lot of growth and they're great, you know, basically glaze as fucking while criticize the U.S. I haven't heard of a single company who has been willing to part with the United States. I haven't heard of a single company who has been willing to part with a particular person like Jon Stewart over criticisms of the U.S. However, you will have athletes who are told that they'll get fired if they speak negatively of China. And it's so interesting that for all the criticisms to make of America, and there certainly are plenty of them, it seems very bizarre, especially that people on the left don't really criticize China at all. You know? It's weird. It's so bizarre. And it's very clear that our country, like, I mean, you know, it's just bizarre. I understand criticizing America, but there should be equal, if not greater, criticism of China, of the Chinese government specifically.
This way. You don't need to be a genius to figure out what happened here. Apparently, Jon Stewart was going to be very, very critical of AI. Apple probably is directly involved in artificial intelligence. And, you know, they've probably invested.
I don't think it has anything to do with AI. It has more to do with China.
A lot of money in making that a big part of their business moving forward. And so anything that's really critical of artificial intelligence and calls for strong regulation of artificial intelligence,
I don't think this is true at all.
Going to undermine Apple's profit motive. And
I just don't agree with this assessment. I don't think that Apple necessarily cares about the AI aspect. I'm pretty sure it's all China because you've seen athletes get doo-dooed on for being not even anti-China, but like acknowledging fucking like Taiwan or whatever, you know. Hey, Tiananmen Square, all of a sudden that never happened. You know, that's the generally speaking.
Apple's plans for the future. So that was probably one big part of it.
I don't think
and
that
the
was
China
even,
thing is self-explanatory.
I don't think that AI had anything to do with it, to be frank.
Apple does a tremendous amount of business in China. What is it, like the Foxconn factories or something? And they're basically these giant factories where the workers get paid absolute trash. They had to hang up nets.
Yeah, because people were throwing themselves off the top of factories.
All around.
Because the workplaces are so oppressive.
Around the outside of the Foxconn factory because there was like an epidemic of people committing suicide. I mean, it was just a horrible situation. And Apple has a lot of business with China. And so they didn't want to piss off China. They didn't want retribution or retaliation where China might, I don't know, raise their taxes or whatever. So they were just like, okay, we're just
it's just disgusting. It's just disgusting behavior. I don't know, man. It's so interesting because I feel like long gone are the days where we riot, or not even riot, where we express our freedom and decide not to buy from a certain company. I forget what that's called. Strike? I don't know. But that seems to be gone, because really people should be withholding paying Apple, because this is disgusting. They're literally pandering to China. That's some really pussy shit. And there's nothing wrong with selling in China, but they're pandering to China. And it's just kind of frustrating. And I think part of it does have to do with the fact that there's less love for America in America. You know? Less people love America now. I love America. And I understand why less people love America, because America can be oppressive, especially to certain groups of people. But you see the negative outcomes of that is that now you have companies that will glaze the fuck out of China, and nobody cares, because we don't have that like pro-America sentiment anymore. Yeah, boycott. That's the word I was looking for. You know, it's an unfortunate reality of the world that we do live in.
We're just going to go ahead and axe Jon Stewart. So look, this speaks to, I mean, this is the main point, right? This speaks to, if you work for giant mega corporations, and look, all of us do to one extent or another, right? Even here on YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google. So technically, I work for Google in a weird roundabout way, more like an independent contractor type deal, but like...
Yeah, kind of, except they're not directly linked to us, so they're not going to probably bow to China. This is more of like a conversation about freedom of speech in that capacity.
Like in a weird roundabout way, I work for Google. You know, we have a Patreon where you guys pay us. Technically, I work for Patreon, too. That's not like a big, not nearly as big a corporation as a lot of these other ones that we're talking about, but...
Yeah, nobody would label it as working for the company. They would label it as, like, using that platform to speak.
The problem, if you work for a mainstream media outlet, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, CBS, et cetera, a lot of their money is going to come from advertising, and it's other mega corporations that pay them. And you don't want to piss off those mega corporations. You don't want to undermine them. Like if you're getting a lot of money from Big Pharma, you're going to, you know, you can only be so critical of Big Pharma without them wanting to pull their money, right?
Sure.
We saw this a lot in the lead up to the Iraq War. Phil Donahue was fired from MSNBC. Phil Donahue was vocally against the Iraq War. He was fired. Why? Well, they wanted, number one, they wanted to go in the direction of being more pro-war because that was the national...
I could swear this guy used to be in the Backstreet Boys. Holy fuck.
...mood at the moment. So they wanted everybody to fall in line behind George W. Bush. But also, there are a lot of defense contractors who advertise with these big media outlets. And, you know, they might not be so keen on doing that if you're funding a strong voice that's against the war where you're going to make more money, right? So you have these conflicts of interest.
Yeah, sure.
This corrupt system. In the case of Apple, they were pretty intelligent up to this point where they looked like they just let Jon Stewart have at it and say whatever he wanted.
Yeah, it was a beautiful show. It honestly was a beautiful show. And it's so interesting because there are some people that you can let them do what they want and they will respect that and they will act reasonably when it comes to doing that. And there's some people that you can't let do what they want. You know, at my job, there were some people, and Jon Stewart's one of those people that you can let him do whatever he wants. You might consider this a step over the line when it comes to criticism of China from that company perspective, but it's not from like a human perspective. He's always very thoughtful and intelligent in the way that he expresses himself. But it's like when I used to work my job, there were some people, and it was mostly the fucking Hispanic guys from El Salvador, that I could say, hey, go out and get this job done, and I didn't have to worry about them the entire night. They would get everything done that needed to get done. And if they were sitting around doing nothing, it was because I knew that they were done with their work and I just did not care. And then there were other people that you would send out and ask them to get their jobs done. And they wouldn't do anything. And they would just sit down and do absolutely nothing. So it's pretty unfortunate. It's pretty interesting. You know, it's very interesting.
But as soon as he got on something that was potentially going to affect their bottom line, they flipped to. And this is the problem with the media, man. This is the problem, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about this in the future, assuming he's not tied up in some sort of contract where he's not allowed to talk about it, which would be draconian in its own respect, by the way. But
yeah, I wonder what the future for Jon is. I mean, I'd hope he would do something. You know, I would love it if he leaned into something. I just wonder if he would be able to have the infrastructure, like the financial infrastructure, because he was on Apple TV. That's paywalled, of course, so you make money there, and then you post some stuff on YouTube, and then, you know, you get YouTube revenue. And he had an amazing team. I loved all of his team too. they were a little left leaning for even me, but I still love them. They were very intelligent, and they did a lot of like research and education on stuff. But I think he could. I mean, and he might. Maybe he'll make his own, not Patreon, but maybe he'll make his own website. That would be phenomenal if he did his own website or something. You know, he doesn't really need the money. And I'm not saying that you should do things without financial incentive, because I understand. But if he really wanted to, he could decide to open up his own thing, his own whatever, business or website or whatever, and he could pay his employees fine and just take no salary until it potentially hit. And he would probably do phenomenal. He will. He probably can't use the problem with Jon Stewart anymore, but I think that he could pull it off. You know, he might have to make a studio in his house or something. But I think I would love to see something like that, something like Jon Stewart would do. Something like that would be phenomenal. It'd be fantastic. Maybe he can just become a Destiny Orbiter. I don't know if he would ever do that, but that would be very interesting. If Jon Stewart ever became a Destiny Orbiter, I think that would be the first time in my entire life that I would be like green with envy, to the point of like, wow, like I would feel it would be an incredible, it would be a horrific experience for me. And not because he'd be orbiting Destiny, but it's because right now I'm not in a position where, you know, I could potentially, I don't know, be associated with Jon Stewart. You know what I mean? It would just be such a fucking punch in the gut. The solution with Jon Stewart. Yeah, that's interesting. That would be an interesting one. There's something so pulling about the problem with Jon Stewart, though, you know?
You know, this is what happens when you work for a giant mega corporation.
Yeah,
and
true.
I would love to come out here and tell you guys, well, it's okay because new media is a panacea, independent.
If it's a Hassan's channel, I'll explode. Papa will explode. Yeah, I might. You might be right, bro. You might be right. I might explode.
Yeah, but it's not.
maybe he'll do leftovers with Ethan from now on. That would be phenomenal. Papa, what is America to you? Does it mean the same thing as the United States? Latin American people feel incredibly offended, and it makes you guys seem entitled and trying to own the whole continent. Okay, sorry, I guess. Like, I don't know. What is America? I mean, obviously, when I say America, I'm referring to the United States of America. You know, we understand that there's like a North and a South America. Two, like, I guess you'd say Latin American people, they think that there's not that they think, they categorize it as North, Middle, and South America. I think that there's like 3 categorizations from people. At least that's what the people that I used to work with from El Salvador had said. That's how they classify it. But yeah, I'm talking about America, my country, the greatest country in the entire fucking world, brother. Okay. Also, I don't think Latin people care that much. I don't think that they really give a shit that much. So, to be honest with you,
I used to think new media was a panacea. It's not. There are plenty of people.
Also, we own the whole continent, pussy. So get over it. Boom! Ah! We own this entire continent. What are you talking about?
In this new media, alternative media, independent media space, whatever you want to call it, who have a whole different set of problems, right? If big money has captured the traditional media outlets, the corporate media outlets, in new media, honestly, being a terminal contrarian,
Canada gets ignored. Canada is just part of so like we have a trade agreement. Basically, this is how it works. Like, America owns Canada and Mexico in some capacity, right? So you got Canada, the United States, Mexico, C-U-M. You got come, right? And what's the most important letter in the word come? It's U, because it's a vowel, and there are very few of those, so they're more powerful and more exciting. You know, you can replace the C with a K, it would still say come. And then the M, a little harder to replace, understandably. But if you put 2 N's together, kind of the same thing. But you can't replace the U. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. So,
is a big, is a big lane for people where they feel like they can make a lot of money. Audience capture is probably the single biggest problem. You know, you don't want to piss off your audience. Narrative humper is the...
I do. I don't want to, but I do. Sometimes I just don't care anymore.
The other thing, stick by your narrative no matter what. And so you have a corporate media environment that is generally pretty terrible because, you know, you can't really get to the root problems, the root causes of a lot of the problems. They don't really do a thorough job. It's very surface level. You guys know this. Mainstream media is very, like, dumbed down in a sense. So that's the problem with...
Yeah, for sure. It is very dumbed down. I think it's unfortunate that every mainstream media seems to not think that their audience is intelligent enough to engage with their content. And it is to an extent, there is a level of truth to that. You know, I wouldn't say that I'm the most intelligent person in the entire world, but every joke aside, I have a higher level of intelligence than like the average person. That's not me glazing or anything. That's just like kind of a fact, right? It doesn't mean I'm always right, but it's the truth. And sometimes my own audience just can't understand a take that I will have and understand what I'm saying. People, it's something that you have to learn, but it's interesting. People just don't know how to parse through information sometimes. And people don't care to parse through information sometimes. And it's not just people who disagree with me. It's also some people who agree with me. Obviously, everybody listening to this right now, you guys are fully capable of parsing through all the information that I say. And you are very intelligent. But there's people who will disagree with me because they'll hear one thing and they can't deal with their level of uncomfortableness with what I said, and it'll throw everything out around that and they can't engage. And then there's people who like me so much that they will just listen to what I say and they'll just take it as fact regardless of what I say. And so it can be frustrating sometimes when people don't fully understand what I'm saying, whether I'm right or wrong. But yeah.
Corporate media and the corruption and the big money influence.
Why are you so upset, dude? Critical XP, I would love to have a debate about how America is the best. LOL. The only thing the U.S. has over other countries is money. You talk about being the most free country, but my country is more free, though. What country do you come from? Also, the only reason your country is free is because of America. We have the most money, and we're the strongest military, pussy. All you have is money. That's everything. If I was rich, I'd be fucking happy as shit, dude. What are you talking about? We are the greatest country in the world, okay? I genuinely believe that. I glaze this shit out of America. I criticize it too, but America is the #1 fucking country. We got more money and we're more powerful, and we literally set the standard for the world. We allow, I'm not even joking, we allow the freedom of other countries. If we didn't stand strong and tall as the #1 superpower, then the other 2 superpowers, China and Russia, literal oppressive governments, more so than ours, would have free reign over the world, and your country wouldn't be as free as it is. Doesn't matter what country you live in. Just telling you that we can criticize my burps. Sorry, we can criticize America all we want all day long, but we set a standard that like for freedom. We are the reason that your country is free. Just letting you know, you can shit and cum and fart all over yourself, and you can criticize America up and down, but that is the reality of the world. That's just a fact, and you know it's true because my head is glowing, and when my head is glowing, that's where my mega brain comes in. That's where my mega mind comes in.
Influence. And the problem with new media is the terminal contrarians, the narrative humpers, the people who are audience captured.
That's an American perspective. Money is everything. People can't meds. What the fuck does that mean? They can't afford to die sometimes. True, they can't. Doesn't make us not the greatest country in the world. I don't know what to tell you.
And so there really is no panacea in media, but it's a real shame because Jon Stewart was one of the few voices who genuinely
we are the Rizzlers.
Intelligent, bright, sharp, punchy, quick-witted.
Is this what I sound like when I glaze the fuck out of Jon Stewart?
And had a lot of people's respect. I mean, obviously he's overwhelmingly left-leaning, but even people who don't agree with him would be like, wow, I know that guy's honest. I know that guy's telling me what he really thinks.
I like that.
So I'm happy.
I hope that people think that about me, even if they think I'm stupid or wrong, that they think that they understand that I'm being honest. You know, and I try to set that standard every single day that I am an honest guy, even if I'm wrong. That's why I talk about my penis all the time, so that you honestly know how small it is. And it's like, wow, this guy, if he's willing to admit that, then he must be an honest guy. Because who would admit that? It's like I would admit that. I don't care. I don't have nothing to hide no more. I don't care, dude. I don't give a shit.
Happy that he walked away, other than as opposed to doing the show and like.
Having free healthcare, Papa. Having free meds is better than being able to afford to say slurs. Okay, bro, I don't even know what country you're from. I don't think that you're understanding what I'm saying. First of all, obviously America needs to be better. It needs to have free healthcare. But I think what you hear is, hey, you live in a more free country. I don't know what country you live in. Let's say that that's true. Or you live in a country with a higher quality of life. And you're like, see, I have a higher quality of life. I'm better. What I'm telling you is that if our country did not exist... Sorry, something fell on the floor. If America didn't exist as the leading Western superpower, your country's values would fall because your country is weaker than ours. Our country spends more than I think I don't know at this point, I think it's 17 other countries when it comes to defense spending. Okay? Combined. I don't know if that's accurate anymore. It might be the next 9. And what I'm saying is that our influence allows you to exist. You could not handle the other superpowers on your own. Okay? The entirety of Europe is like the same size of America. When people from other countries come to America, they think that they could take in everything all the time. I'm going to go to the Grand Canyon, which is up here. I'm going to go down here to fucking Disney World. I'm going to go across the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm going to see the Statue of Liberty in one day. You think that we're this small little country. We are fucking massive. Okay? The drive from New York to Florida is a 24-hour drive. We are a massive, huge, powerful country. Okay, California is like the 5th largest economy in the entire world by itself. Okay, that one state, like a 50th of our country, I know not land-wise, but state-wise, is the 5th largest economy in the fucking world. I love America. Okay, I just need you to understand this. We are fucking insane. So that's what I mean when I say we're the best country in the world. We lead by mostly positive example. There are criticisms, but guess what? You motherfuckers criticizing America, you wouldn't be able to do that if you were controlled by China or Russia because they don't allow free speech. So as you sit here and say, well, you're not the best country in the world, as you benefit from the massive amount of defense spending that we engage in, which makes it less expensive for you to be able to survive, and we set the show for the world stage of like what we're going to do and deal with, as you criticize it, understand that we let you criticize us. That's the reality. We allow you to have freedom of speech. All right? Just understand. All right? Freedom's not free, motherfucker. Criticize us all you want because that just means we're better. That just means we are better because we let you. It's all by design. Your criticism shows that you are free because of us. Okay? So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you tell you. I don't give a shit. I'm a fucking bald eagle right now, baby. All right, I don't care. That's how hard I glaze America. Yeah, wave your white French flag, bro. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck, dude. I love this country. I'm a goddamn Eagle Scout, dude. I'm not on my conservative arc. I just unironically love America. I fucking love this country. I know that there are things to criticize, and I criticize them daily, but I fucking love this country. Just letting you know, dude.
Kind of censoring the parts that are more critical on AI in China. I'm happy that he walked away, and maybe he'll be free and do some YouTube thing. He never needed to work for another big corporation again. He could have just done all this on YouTube himself or something. But
true, based.
Whatever he does next is definitely going to be successful because he's a very
hopefully gives
rare
me a kiss
talent,
in the mouth.
Very rare, like super honest guy. So yeah, there you have it. It's a real wild story.
ASMR kissing Jon Stewart on the lips.
But it's the problem with big corporations running media.
Oh, John.
Who's going to run into issues like this.
Oh, God.
And it's best to sort of insulate yourself from this as much as humanly possible. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now.
Based. Okay, cool video.